Hi, this is Dr. V of BreastCancerConqueror.com and the 7 Essential System. I'm so happy to have a special guest today. Welcome to our Wellness Warriors podcast. So Jared Todesco is somebody that I met, how long ago did we meet? Several years ago?
Several.
Informally, yeah.
Been some time now.
Ago. And the connection with Jared is that he is representative of a company that provides a product called Haelan. And if you have followed me at all and you know the type of work that we do, you know that I've always recommended this product Haelan because it's a very concentrated form of nutrition, and people that are on a healing journey can really benefit from this, especially women that are on a breast cancer healing journey. So Jared, welcome to our podcast. I'm excited to have you.
Thank you.
So we're going to, let me give you a little bit of history about my experience with Haelan. So way back when I was going through my healing journey in 2004 through 2006, I was introduced to Haelan, and at the time I kind of dabbled in it, but I really didn't use it that much. But when I did use it, I felt really good when I took it. And then I started testing it on my patients with bioenergetic testing, and I could see that most of the time it really strengthened people's energy system. It really helped them with their gut, and especially if they were on a healing journey with a specific type of cancer, it really made a big imprint on their energetic system. So I really was convinced, and I've taken it over the last many years. I take it as a maintenance as well. And I just wanted to share this information because I think it's very, very important. So Jared, tell us why you got started with Haelan. Why this organic, non-GMO fermented soy bottle? And you want to show people a bottle of what it looks like?
So here's a bottle of Haelan, and this actually just came right out of my own refrigerator. Me and my family, we take it every day for maintenance, just like you were saying. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I personally got involved in it, it was actually my father who started the wholesale retail side when it comes to healing and distributing. And he really didn't know too much what was going on with a product. However, it would have been on my mother's side, a cousin that ended up being diagnosed with breast cancer. And she kind of fiddled around with it years and years ago, taking an alternative, product when it comes to going alongside of chemotherapy for that time. She ended up using Haelan with a little bit of chemical, and she went to remission. Now, my father, he didn't really batter an eye at it at that time at all. He is running the company with over 400 employees. He was the owner of it as well at that time. And from there, about 4 years later, it ended up happening. She ended up, the breast cancer jumped from the left breast to the right breast, a reoccurrence. And she said, I'm not going through chemo anymore. And she ended up, just using Haelan alone and going into remission. And well, that's when my father said, okay, I don't know what this mud smelling sauce is.
Mud smell, that's a good description.
But it's something that's, it's good. So he ended up importing several cases, 100 bottles each, 5 people, sent it to a doctor and said, look, before I even get into it or anything, I want you to test this on your worst cases. And I want to know the results, if it's going to or if not. Well, 4 out of 5 ended up living and going into remission. And then that's when my father said, okay, I know nothing about this stuff. We're going to go from there. So Haelan used to be astronomically more expensive than it is right now. Importing 1 bottle, 2 bottles at a time. Well, over the course of many studies, many years, especially when it comes to Walter doing research, knowing what it is that people need when it comes to percentage per blood volume, how much they weigh and whatnot. We didn't know any of that. When I say we, it was more like my father's generation, because I've only been with the company now for about 11 years. I started out in the warehouse and went to the box boy, then ended up knowing about it and going to college, but I really didn't quite know about Haelan until I had several individuals call me up after I worked with them and saying, hey, you need to call my dad. I just know he does something with cancer, but I just know you need to call him. And thanking me. And, you know, now it's a blessing in my life. I enjoy it immensely. I enjoy it to the fact where, you know, my wife sometimes tells me, you know, it's 10 o'clock at night, you can't be taking a phone call. And, you know, but I'm an individual that says, you know what, we just don't want to be in that situation. And if someone can get some kind of relief, that's our goal. You know, we want to try to help every individual by the best customer service and education that we can give them, period.
That's very sweet. And I will say that we work with a lot of different companies, and Jared has gone beyond with his generosity, donating cases for our retreats, and always there to answer questions and to support us. So we really appreciate that. So you mentioned Walter. Now, what I know about Walter Wainwright is that he is pretty responsible, or was responsible, for really bringing this information to the United States, because it was developed in China originally by medical doctors, correct? Because they saw that they were losing people with the chemotherapy treatments, and they wanted to provide a very potent nutrition. So they came up with this formulation. So can you tell us a little bit about Walter and some of the research that he's done?
Yes. So Walter, he was a major factor when it comes to the research side of Haelan. And
he was your grandfather too.
He is my grandfather. He is my grandfather. He has the last name Wainwright, but obviously that would be my mom's maiden name.
Right.
And he was involved mostly when it comes to learning the product. My father was steered to the point where it says, look, we're going to go out there, we're going to capture these practitioners, we're going to let these people have some kind of relief, although we really don't know anything. And that's kind of a hard pitch when you go in there years and years ago saying, we don't know anything about this product. However, it's really bad tasting, it's really expensive.
but it works.
but it works. And by the way, FDA will never allow us to say it works. We can't ever claim anything like that. None of us are doctors by any means, as you know that. So Walter was head of that research. We needed to understand at that time what was working, what mechanisms of action were working for the individuals. And it's been through some trial and error when it comes to, you know, learning breast cancer, for instance, or ovarian, or estrogen-driven, or estrogen receptor positive cancers. We really didn't know what was all, happening. However, it's a third generation product now. And over the course of time, we did understand that we now need to have the most concentrated product with the highest quality of control out on the market. And that's what Haelan stands for. We do everything by the books with FDA. Everything has to be passed. Everything has to be signed off well before it even gets to our warehouse. We would love to be able to manufacture here in the United States, but FDA just will not allow that. And Walter found out how, with research and studies, how to concentrate a product that is delivering the most anti-cancer properties found in one bottle alone to an individual hour after hour. As our bodies go through that course of 24 hours, of course, most of us try to rest anywhere from that 6 to 8 hours. However, we found out per blood volume, 90 to 190 pound individuals, most of the time they have to consume that 4 ounces and more than 4 ounces in evening because it stays in that bloodstream. So you have to constantly be delivering through that bloodstream, an anti-cancer property. And that's why we figured out how to not only make the components that are found in a soybean that are normally estrogen driven, which will work against you, but our fermentation process and our patent fermentation process we have there now makes it anti-estrogenic. So we're able to deliver these anti-cancer compounds to these individuals that have estrogen receptor positive cancers, right? It really separates us from those that are out on the market. Now there's individuals that understand that there are supplements out there that they should be taken on a daily process, but Haelan's a very concentrated, liquid, fermented soy product, although what we do is we extract the 5 major components of the anti-cancer property. The rest of the soybean is just junk. It's just a filler. And I always tell people, and my wife hates it when I use this word, but I call it rabbit food, and that's what it is. It's nothing more than that, it's just a filler. But you have to be able to extract that. And when we do it, we actually put 25 pounds of that in each bottle. And no one can match us. And the reason why no one can match is because you just can't achieve that in a dry state form.
25 pounds of fermented soy in one bottle.
Fermented, so we're talking genistein, diazine, protease inhibitors, phytoestrogens, everything that comes good out of the soybean. The rest of it is just garbage, right? So what we do is we do 25 pounds of the good, rest of it we take away. We ferment that so we make it anti-estrogenic for individuals that have that estrogen receptor positive cancers, which are 99% of the time when it comes to breast cancer. And these individuals drink it. And that's where that bad taste comes from. I mean, we found out a way to hide that taste, but it kind of jeopardizes our product a little bit, all the way up. I mean, our FSC level goes down to 25%, which we're just not willing to do.
No, yeah, you don't want to do that. And it's really, for those of you who've never tasted it, I will say that it's one of the worst tasting things I've ever tasted. But if you add chocolate stevia drops and make sure that it's very cold, and all you got to do is chug it down and then rinse your mouth out with water and drink a bit of water afterwards, it's fine. I mean, you get used to it. And some people don't mind the taste. I found it was a little difficult to take, but you know, if you know what it's doing to your body, you're willing to do that. So tell me.
As a young man, sorry.
No,
As
go
a
ahead.
young man, my father, he forced it down my throat. He said, just drink it. Well, I told you, it's like you said, it's not impalatable, but it is bad tasting, right? And it's something that we just can't. We can't. But there are many ways that people can mask that taste, by all means.
So the chocolate stevia drops was my way. What are other ways to mask the taste?
A lot of people use Olalola. Me personally, what I do is every morning, I've gotten used to it. I like something called Greens First out there. We don't manufacture that product by any means or anything. It's just one of the things that I found that I like taking it because it masks taste. I'll just drink Haelan, and I'll just take some sips of Greens First, mix in with some water afterwards. Most of the time, if individuals are on a good health plan, especially if they're directed by you, by all means, they're juicing. They're doing something that's just not a single, I call it the single bullet approach, where healing is just not like the single thing. You got to take it from a shotgun approach. You know, many things that are out there to help an individual. And if that's the case, if you just drink healing and then just chase it with something after, masks the taste. I mean, that's just the way it is. My wife, now she can drink it without even drinking any kind of Greens First off of it. All my kids, as if it's just dark chocolate milk that tastes good.
That's what it looks like. Dark chocolate milk. Now, is there, once somebody drinks it, is there a waiting period? Should they wait 30 minutes, an hour before they eat anything else? So that
our studies used to indicate that we would like individuals to wait that 20-30 minute range. However, new studies that are coming out, especially the ones that are posted now with the National Cancer Institute regarding pancreatic cancer, Haelan's broken down so much that it goes right into the bloodstream. So we're kind of starting to take the standpoint saying, as long as you don't have a large meal and then dump Haelan on top of that, you're going to be okay. And that's why we started taking that standpoint. You know, when we found that out about 3 years ago, when the National Cancer Institute ended up doing a study on us, of course, I feel like sometimes we're always up on an uphill battle and they go after the pancreatic cancer cells, but it ended up posting out very well for us.
Excellent.
And we're able to share that link with individuals. And we ended up understanding through that study that you don't always have to have it on a bare bones empty stomach. And also, I think that's kind of a benefit sometimes, especially when individuals start taking liquids of any sort, water, let's be milk, whatever it is that they're doing in the morning, they have a rush of those liquids in their stomach, it's going to make anybody nauseous, right?
Right.
If you have a kind of a product that tastes like ours on top of it, it's not the most comfortable state. That's why we're starting to say, hey, you know what? We found out through these studies that ended up making out okay that individuals can take it and eat anything after 5-10 minutes zone.
Okay.
Just not on top of
A big
a
meal.
very large meal by any means. No, we don't want the bodies to selectively, digest something and say, okay, now I don't need anything anymore.
Okay. So it's a fermented soy product and it has a lot of benefits. So can you list some of those benefits as to, why would somebody on a healing journey even want to think about taking something like this?
The thing that stands out to me the most when it comes to me personally, I've never experienced cancer, and nor anybody in my family, and that's including everybody of my family gene history. So something that stands out to me most is an individual years ago that used our product for inoperable glioblastoma on his child. Brittany Bolliger's name, by the way, out of Oregon. He brought to my attention that he said, "You know what, Jared? He goes, you got to understand that Haelan's a anti-inflammatory." And I'm thinking to myself, well, we don't really have too many studies to really support that, back that up. He goes, "No, you don't understand. Haelan is a massive anti-inflammatory." He goes, "I've not found one product out on the market that can beat down inflammation the way that your product does." And the light bulb went off right then and there. And I said, well, I know that if you can't get past the inflammation, therefore you can never deliver anything to the tumor mass itself. Inflammation is the major culprit of all degenerative diseases out there.
Right.
And when referring to Haelan, we have to be able to deliver a massive anti-inflammatory on top of the anti-cancer properties that are found in each bottle of those 25 pounds of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then something that helps the gut. So that's why I think Haelan always stands out as that white stallion. I always tell everybody that if there's a lead horse, Haelan's going to be in the front. And we're not in the business to knock anybody else. Everybody's got something good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody can be able to be supported by something, but Haelan's just not a product where you're going to take day in and day out. We're not that.
Got it. So you mentioned the National Cancer Institute study on pancreatic cancer. Are there any other studies that you find are pretty aha for our audience to hear? So
we have 2 more on there now. So we have 3 in total, which is, I like to share that with people.
Yes, because it's not easy to get those kinds of studies done.
No, it's not, especially when it came to it was a surprising factor for us. I think if they probably would have reached out to us and said, "Hey, we're trying to do a study on you," we probably would have said, "We'll support you on it. What needs to happen?"
Mm-hmm.
Because I know in the background, I stand behind my product 100%. I think every individual that works for the company stands behind it 100%, because you just can't, after you have so many people. And some of the most rewarding people that I call are people that go through you and call me up and say, "I'm working with Dr. V and I'm doing so much better." It's like, we don't get that too often because we're not doctors. We don't get to go one-on-one. We don't preach that, if you want to tell us, great. If not, that's fine too. And when the National Cancer Institute came out and said, okay, now we have a study on cachexia, protein calorie malnutrition.
So that's when you get really, really sick towards the end and the cancer cells are eating your muscle tissue and you just get really, really thin.
It's not good. Yeah, and it's a state both induced by cancer, but also by its deadly side effects of chemotherapy or radiation, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Your body just can't process proteins anymore. So we had a very successful study when it came to that. It also, when it came to breast, ovarian, lung, and liver, they did managing immunity study that was also posted with the National Cancer Institute that ended up being very successful for us as well. And that's kind of rewarding to us. And once people get that in their hands and once they read through the study and understand what they're saying, they always see that it's a fit. And Haelan's not for everybody. Haelan's not a product that's going to do something that's overnight. And I've come to realize over the years of being with Haelan that individuals have to wake up every day, day in and day out, and they have the first thing to say is, I've got something in me that's working very against myself, right? And I'm on a ticking time bomb kind of thing. But if they understand that now you have a product that has been proven, that here are the numbers, here are the statistics, especially in the Western oncology world when they're going to post this on the National Cancer Institute's website, I think that gives them a little bit of relief. And it's my pleasure to be able to give that relief once they understand why it is that you'll go on healing for a little bit, but you won't be on healing for the rest of your life.
Right, unless you do it for maintenance, which is recommended. So, and we know, my audience knows, my friends in our breast cancer conqueror world, you know, we know that it's not just one thing. It's the 7 essentials. You know, it has everything to do with food, detoxification, balancing your energy, your hormones,
Absolutely.
your sleep,
Absolutely.
your emotions, the dental aspect, you know, keeping a pulse on
huge.
your health.
The dental aspect is huge right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's pretty amazing. Now, if there was I know you mentioned the story about the glioblastoma, the brain tumor. Is there another example, like with breast cancer, that you could share without necessarily giving any names, but you know, someone that really stands out to you that had a huge turnaround or benefit as a result of using Haelan?
Oh, absolutely. The individual that stands out to be right off the bat, when she's located in Arizona, I won't drop any names. However, if the individuals want to go in there, I bet they can find her. She had multiple metastases, you know, from breast cancers, including the lung and the liver. There was 8 that went through the course of traditional Western oncology that were in her group. She was the only one on healing, and she was the only one that's still alive.
Wow.
And not only were we able to, you know, help her be able to recover and live with her family, because she has children like I do, but also we were able to pick up that doctor, and that doctor is a full bore Western oncology doctor. He writes prescriptions, and he's able to help individuals, and he sees it from a standpoint where he learned from her example.
Excellent.
And we have that all the time, Dr. D. I mean, you gotta remember, we do this day in and day out, and
Right.
healing, we only sell one product, and we've only been doing that for 30 years.
Wow.
And it's the same product, although we've improved it multiple times now. It went from Haelan, 851 to Haelan 951. Now it's Haelan Platinum 951.
Okay.
And this is what we do. So we have a bunch of individuals, especially I think you've even met my friend Ryan, who
yes.
I went to high school with.
My kid cures cancer.
That was a bad phone call, because it's it kind of hit home a little bit. Having a high school buddy that his son, being a new father like myself, where our children are almost the same age, and he did well, and I pretty much just told him, I go, Ryan, if you listen, I'll be able to help you. If you don't listen to me, you're going to be on your own. And he took the time and initiative to really dive into it, to really understand not only our product, but ultimately other things out there as well. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think he's a true testament for himself.
Yeah. He and his wife, Teddy, are actually helping other people now, families whose children have cancer. And that's such a pull to our heart when we see young kids suffering with cancer. So especially when they go through traditional treatments.
One last thing I can add is I recently had a phone call, and I'm gonna skip back about 3 weeks now, from an individual that personally told me through a health institute that's located in Florida that over 480 individuals with breast cancer have now been helped. And,
wow.
And that's something that we love to hear. FDA, if anybody was to get on the web, they're going to see a write-up on FDA. Well, that's because I was not the best individuals known in the law, where I put, and my father helped me, it's 5,300 testimonials on the internet, and they said, nope, can't do that. That sounds legit.
5,300 testimonials.
We have quite a large file now. So what we do in our business, not only do we track individuals, we actually log them and their progress. We don't like it when people just say, okay, I just want to buy Haelan and never hear from you again. We actually want to know what's going on, what's your status, because we always take the standpoint from, if we know a little bit more about you and what's going on, we could probably help you out a little bit more. And if we can't, we have doctors like yourself to steer you to. There are cases that people need to have outside resources, and we connect them to them. And from there, what happens is they say, okay, I'm in remission when I shouldn't be in remission. I'm living, you know what, I don't know how, but I'll refer you to Haelan, kind of thing. And it's, like I said, it's not only just Haelan, it's many other aspects. Many people like yourself, especially take a standpoint. And as you know, I always tell people, if anybody in my family, especially my wife and my daughter, was to get breast cancer by any means, Dr. D is the first person I'm calling.
Wow.
You honestly know that. And I know you know that.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so we're getting close on time. So just a couple of quick questions. So China, that's often a concern. People say made in China. So
big concern.
Dispel that and just, blow that out of the water.
It's an uphill battle for us every day. I don't think I go through a week without hearing that question. Without having to answer that. And the reason for it is it's purely FDA. So the soybean content, the soybeans that we need that are concentrated to hit the levels that we need from the genistein, protease inhibitors, everything that's on that wall kind of right there behind me, is we cannot legally grow that soybean species here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
We would love to, we're not able to. So we have to, what's our next best option? Has to be crop. Everything has to be done above 3,300 feet in elevation where there's pollen control to actually say that's a true non-GMO, true organic species of soybeans. We extract those anti-cancer agents. From there, what we do is we do our fermentation process. And then each batch, as you know, when the scans, I can send them to you, we have to do quality control.
Mm-hmm.
And we live and die by that quality control, because it's not only us in the business. We are pretty sound-minded when we know that things that come out of China can be compromised. We're not going to try to hide it by any means, but everything that we put out there, we are definitely going to make sure that it's the most quality. And if it's not, we'll never have batch. Now, has that ever happened on any of our batches? Absolutely, positively not. In fact, we are so linked with the FDA now that we're considered underneath the most stringent manufacturing practices when it comes to low acid canned food, period.
Excellent. Yes. And you've shared some of those reports with me. Some people have had, concerns about certain heavy metals, the rumors that they hear by people that are not informed and are just talking through their hat, so to speak. And, this is a very, very clean product. And the fact that it's grown 3,300 feet altitude, that's definitely going beyond the extra mile as far as non-GMO, interpollination. So that's awesome.
Yeah. It's just a lot of people don't understand. If you have a soybean field on one side of the road that's non-GMO, and then a soybean field on the other side that is GMO.
Yeah, cross-pollination.
The wind blows and you just really can't control that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, last question. So we know that it's a great product. And as a result of all the work and fermentation and process that it goes through, it's a little pricey when you drink a bottle per day. That being said, you now have something that can help people, the insurance reimbursement process. And if somebody is interested in buying Haelan by the case, how do they go about this insurance process?
So you're touching on something that's probably the most interesting and the thing that excites me the most.
Okay.
It's been several years now. We learned how, and we did the studies, and we were able to pass the certifications and requirements to be accepted in 5 out of the 6 major insurance data banks. Now, in the insurance companies, when they pull from these data banks, either the product's accepted or not accepted, right? From there, it's been kind of a learning curve of what we had to do when it comes to getting an individual reimbursed. We were not accepted for a pharmaceutical grade because we have no chemical. There's nothing that needs to be controlled inside of Haelan. So they really didn't know where to place us. They just said, well, if the doctor prescribes it and they have a treatment authorization request, which everything that that individuals need, we provide for them now. In fact, we've hired staff members that their full-time job is to walk individuals through that reimbursement process, because there are insurance companies that have been a little bit difficult, but most of the time, you know, we're experiencing anywhere from a 79.99% reimbursement, or sometimes to that 32%, right? Mm-hmm. We were just extremely happy to be one of the first products out on the market that's non-GMO, 100% organic, that is not a chemical grade, to be able to be reimbursed. And we have been learning that process day in and day out, but it does offset it. It does need to be prescribed. It does need to have a treatment authorization request, when it just that's us, the formal word of saying a medical necessity letter. Sure. And we give all those to individuals for the doctors just to sign out. And most of the time, it really ends up working out for not only a company benefit, but for that individual as well. Mm-hmm. Because the doctor says, well, you're just doing so well, and I signed off on this, maybe I'll have someone else look into this kind of thing. So, you know, we provide all the information, and if the insurance companies are giving them a hard time, the likelihood of that insurance company pulling from the data bank that we weren't accepted in is so low. I haven't experienced it yet. That's why we have a full-time staff now to walk them through that process. Wow. And people, even if they're through you or through other hospitals or other organizations, they can call us at any time, at any moment. They cannot annoy us. It's impossible. We'll walk them through it. Okay, so how do they get in touch with you to get reimbursed for that? They can always call the office. I mean, we have our 800 number, which is 800-542-3526. If it's your patients, you can always send them directly to me through email. They can call our 425 number. That's 425-482-2645, or just simply get on the web and Haelan951.com. And they will be able to get in touch with the company. And, you know, most of the time we have people that have never even ordered Haelan, and they'll get on and say, what do I have to do? And we'll start them off from there, from the very first step to the very last. Excellent. Excellent. Well, Jared, it's been great. Thanks for all the information. Thanks for all you do. You have a big heart, and you really share this information and your products very generously with a lot of people. So thanks. Well, I appreciate that. And don't dismiss yourself. I think you've done an immense, a lot of good with a lot of people. And it's my pleasure to always be able to help you out. And quite frankly, we learn a lot from you. We're kind of your followers, and we just try to steer people your way for them to be able to be helped. Well, thanks, Jared. I appreciate it. All right, everybody. This is Dr. V signing off, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.